and don't like colored people.
Oh, man. Really?
And I'm going to get him.
Oh, man.
I'm going to get him. He called me a bad name. It rhymes with trigger.
Oh, really?
You know trigger?
Yeah.
He called me a trigger. Really? And I'm going to get Scott LaDoux. I've never hoped a man so bad. I'm overweight, out of shape, but it's 5 rounds, and we are going for it all. And then when I hit him, here's what he will see. Lights out.
Muhammad Ali never did get to fight the shaggy-haired Uncle due to his deteriorating health and being in his 40s. But we know a man that did. Standing in the red corner at 6 feet 3 inches tall of pure London muscle and a frame that would make a bodybuilder jealous, Frank Bruno. Frank would be coming into this fight with a perfect record, 14 fights, 14 wins, and all of them coming by way of knockout. Bruno was a fighter on the rise. But standing in his way was a seasoned fighter, Scott LaDoux, travelling from across the pond and bringing with him something money couldn't buy: experience. Scott would have thrown hands with some of the best heavyweight fighters of the late 70s and early 80s. Let us take you back to 1983, to a time where Heathrow Airport was getting stood up and the Conservative Party was under the iron leadership of Margaret Thatcher. But in a town of turmoil was a fighter on the rise. Frank Bruno was an up-and-coming fighter looking to destroy anything and everything in his way. Bruno was quick on the rise, having had 14 fights in the space of 2 years, and armed with a punch that could take a man's head clean off. Bruno was making a statement in the British heavyweight rankings. His opponent of the night was a man not to be taken lightly. Scott LaDoux had been boxing as a pro since 1974. His first fight was a knockout victory over Arthur Pullens. He would be coming into this fight with a mixed record of 33 wins and 12 losses and 4 draws. Of his 33 wins, he would boast 22 knockouts over some LaDoux's opponents included Ken Norton, Ron Lyle, Leon Spinks and Big Bad George Foreman. Scott would also fight the legendary Larry Holmes for the WBC heavyweight title in 1980. In his match with Leon Spinks, LaDoux earned a draw just months before Spinks defeated Ali. Scott LaDoux, an American boxer born of French descendants, he was a seasoned veteran by the time he fought Bruno. While not always victorious, his experience in the ring was substantial, and he was known for his toughness and resilience. Scott LaDoux wasn't just a hard hitter, but was a thinking boxer, coming from a country background, born into a small town of miners with old school views. After boxing, Scott would take to the seat of politics. Frank Bruno wasn't fazed by records or academic ability. He was a rising star in British boxing, known for his powerful physique and knockout power. At the time, Bruno was relatively new to the professional boxing scene, having turned professional in 1982. The fight against Scott LaDoux was seen as an opportunity for Bruno to prove himself against a more experienced opponent. The fight garnered significant public interest, especially in the UK, where Bruno was becoming a popular figure. The media coverage focused on Bruno's potential and his prospects in the heavyweight division, while also highlighting LaDoux's experience and the challenge he posed. Both fighters engaged in rigorous training camps. Bruno was known for his disciplined approach and intense training regimen, aiming to enhance his already formidable power and improve his boxing skills. LaDoux, on the other hand, relied on his experience and toughness, preparing to withstand Bruno's power and use his ring savvy to his advantage. The build-up included the usual pre-fight hype, with discussions about whether Bruno's power could overcome LaDoux's experience. There were debates among boxing pundits about the potential outcomes, with some favouring Bruno's youth and strength, while others leaned toward LaDoux's experience. But with all the talk of youth over experience, Scott would only be 34 years of age coming into the fight. The night of the fight between Frank Bruno and Scott LaDoux, which took place in October 1983, was significant in both Bruno's early career and Scott's first fight in Europe, rarely fighting outside of North America. The venue of the fight was held at Wembley Arena in London, a prestigious venue known for hosting major sporting and big-time fights.
Come alive as Bruno gets into the ring for this which conceived Scott LaDoux, 34 years old, one of the veterans of the American ring, and got a draw with a couple of them. Ken Norton, for instance, who of course has been training for this past week under the supervision of Floyd Patterson, the former world heavyweight.
Well, there wasn't enough time to teach him too much. The two things that I did teach him is one on defensive hand higher and the right hand higher. And so a lot of straight left jabs. He used to telegraph the jab. Now, if you notice, he doesn't. I wanted to keep his hands higher because he was open for counter. So those were the two main things that we worked on. But of course, he's fighting a very well experienced fighter.
Well, we hope that Scott LaDoux won't be one of those opponents'
Eyes if that happens.
Bruno and Ledoux, a massive 16 stone 2. His face, George Foreman, Leon Spinks, Ken Norton, Mike Weaver, and of course Larry Holmes, the current WBC heavyweight champion. Ledoux comes here with 47 fights on his record. Jab. Over goes Ledoux at the end of the first round. Continue, but he's up on his feet.
Ledoux would be saved by the bell at the end of the first round, but Frank Bruno was looking to put the moves on the American. Would his fight pedigree show true in the later stages, or would the Brit be just too much for him in the early stages?
And Bruno's big thumping jab. Not much has gone right to stop Ledoux. He backs off. Ledoux struggling to maintain some sort of credibility here. Bruno Floyd, he hasn't shown any sign of nerves. I mean, this is the toughest opponent that he's had yet, but doesn't seem to be making much difference.
Because he's very muscular.
A fair bit of difference between a week ago when you came to see him first.
Yes, you see.
And Ledoux, Larry O'Connell having a little quiet word with him, trying not to let this get out of hand. There's some blood on Ledoux's face. Back to the end of the second round. He was put over at the end of the first, and now he's got eye trouble at the end of the second. And that may well have been done by the head, I suspect. Ledoux's left eye patched, but still looking red. There's some blood still there above that left eye. Almost a vertical cut above it. It's in a dangerous place. So this fight barely started, and yet we've had quite our share of sensations already. Ledoux down, and blood seeping from the cut again. The man is 34, and ambition probably high. And Larry O'Connell wants the blood wiped away so he can get a closer look. And I think Larry O'Connell is saying he can't go on, and that is exactly what he's saying in the third round.
London's own Frank Bruno would see out the fight by technical knockout in the third round. Bruno's superior power and skill were evident from the beginning. He controlled the fight, landing heavy blows on Ledoux, who was unable to mount a significant offence. And by the third, the referee had seen enough and stopped the fight in the third round to prevent further damage to Ledoux, giving Bruno the victory. This victory was crucial for Frank Bruno as it demonstrated his ability to compete against more experienced opponents and reinforced his reputation as a rising star in the heavyweight division. It was a stepping stone that helped propel him towards higher profile bouts and eventually towards challenging for world titles. But they are fights for another video as we see through Frank's career. as significant as it was for Frank, it would be more so for Scott, becoming his last time to lace the gloves, retiring and heading back to the States. We leave you with one question, fight fans. Are you an old school fight fan? If so, give that subscribe button a stiff jab. I've been Frank Monroe here at Below the Belt Boxing. Take care.